Hi everybody, welcome back to the Dashboard Studios. I am Rob and I'm here today to go over guide rail bracket assembly for brackets that we start shipping as of June 15th, 2022. So let's open the box. So we have admittedly a studio packed version. It doesn't have any packing paper in it, but this is what you get. We'll start off with 2 bench dogs, 2 setup blocks. We have a bag of hardware, pressure bar with knobs. You get a pinsert. This goes in your rail's bottom slot to register on the locating pin on the front bracket. If you have an MFT and you've let us know when you ordered, we have some special MFT screws that we'll review in another video, some literature, and some QR code stuff, links to video, and a diagram about where do you put your mounting hardware. So let's put that over here. We also have the major parts. This is called a riser. This is the part that goes up and down to adjust your height. We have the base plate. We have a second base plate, second riser. This is called a yoke. This is the axle. This is called the pin block. This is the pin plate. And finally, the pivot plate. So let's set these over here and take a look at the hardware. So hardware bag has lots of fun stuff in there, and we need to take a look at it all. Okay. So we have a selection of knobs. They're all the same. We'll use them all over the place in this assembly. We have a charming little container of thread lock, which we'll talk about in a minute. We have an official Dashboard brand wrench that we'll use shortly. 2 what we call center studs. This is what you use in the base plate to govern the vertical motion. There's an Allen wrench, there's another Allen wrench, shoulder bolt. We have 4 sleeve bearings for the axle, 1 bolt, button head bolt for the pressure bar, and there are 4 flathead screws. We have 4 T-bolts, custom made for Dashboard. This is the locating pin with its own screw. We have 2 small silver screws for attaching the pin plate to the pin block. Some plastic washers, 1 silver washer to go on the shoulder bolt. Let's just put that on there now, just like so. And a nut for the shoulder bolt. Finally, 2 screws for the pivot plate. So let's set those over there. So the first thing you want to do is assemble the axle and yoke. This is where our little bearings come in handy. We're going to put this one on the outside, and it is a little bit of a snug fit there. That's the way we want it. Right there into the yoke. Just pop those in, and then with the other 2 are going to go in the axle. Just like so. Okay, so now to slip those together, it is a precision fit, but it is still possible to just easily put it in there. Doesn't matter which side the shoulder bolt goes in, but you just want to line up these parts so they all go together and the shoulder bolt comes out nice and easy on the other side. Now, take the shoulder bolt nut. Just work that on with your fingers, it goes on most of the way. So we have just a little bit of adjustment left to get it where we want it to be. Now, because this is an Imperial threaded setup here, and we sell these all over the world, we've provided a wrench so that there's no fumbling between metric system and Imperial tools wherever you are. So this is a 1/8 inch or 3mm Allen wrench. Just put that in the shoulder bolt here. And the wrench is mostly for holding the nut rather than turning it. And it just pops on there nice and snug. And then you're going to tighten this. And you don't have much turning to get to tight. And so you want to make this pretty snug. And it might even be snug enough that you can't actually turn it with your bare hands until you get the pivot plate on. But the thing is, once the plate goes on and once you have a rail on there, there's a lot of leverage that acts on this. So even though you might think it's super tight when you're doing this, it's often not quite tight enough. But you can adjust that to your preference later. So this is ready to go. We'll set these over here. And so it's a very simple process to put this together. We have a little neck machined out of the top of the axle, which fits right in this opening on the pivot plate. So you want the yoke to look like that, with the angled section here pointing in toward the plate when these go together. So then you just put those two together like that. Now this is where we're going to start dealing with the thread lock, because we definitely don't want any of these screws to move once they're in here. So rather than open this bag, I've got a pre-opened little container here of the same stuff. And you just want to put a little bit on there. Comes out nice and easy. Set that down, do the other one. Okay. So now I have a number 3 Phillips screwdriver. This is very important to use the right one for these screws. So we'll just get that started in this side and get this one started over here. They will center themselves. And of course, this mating arrangement between the axle and the plate keeps it square. So just tighten that in there a little bit, get this one going. And then we can give it a little nice, firm, snug. That part is done. So now you can see this still moves pretty well. There shouldn't be much slop in there. As I said, you can adjust it to your preference later. So that's ready. Set that over here. Now let's work on the risers. So the first one is going to go onto the pivot plate that we just put together, just like so. And we'll do the same thing with the thread lock. Now we get the flathead screws and put a little bit of thread lock on there, and let's do another one. Might as well do all 4 of them while we're at it. There's plenty of thread lock in this tube to do more than one set of brackets. So I'll just put one through here. This is where we get the larger wrench. It's 4mm or 5/32 of an inch. Get that one started in that hole. Leave that a little bit loose. Get another one here. Run that into this guy. Make sure we're not cross-threading anything. Again, self-centering. You really can't go wrong. Like that. Now we'll tighten this up. Very easy, very uncomplicated. So that's one assembly done. Now, the other side, this is for the front bracket. And the first thing you want to do is take the screws that you just put some thread lock on, run those through there. And now you line up the pin block with the holes facing up relative to this. So these are just going to screw in like that. I just get them located, start the screws with my fingers. And then we'll do the same as on the other one. Get those going. Nice tight fit in the wrench, custom made for us actually, because we needed one that was really short. So that's nice and tight, all set. Now we want to put the pin plate onto the pin block. So it's going to be arranged this way with the notch cut out to your right as you're looking at it this way, kind of like that. You can see how the holes line up. So you'll take these two small screws that we talked about earlier. I'll just get one of them in there, get the regular number 2 Phillips. And just lay that out there. That one roughly in place. Get that started. Actually, I should have put some thread lock on here, but we're all friends here, so you can just sort of imagine that I actually did that. Okay, tighten that. Tighten the other one, and that's all set. Now, we're going to put the locating pin in one of these 2 holes. In this case, we're setting this up for a Festool style rail. That'd be Festool, Makita, PowerTech, Triton, and Metabo, possibly some others. That's this hole. That's on the left side away from the notch. So it's already assembled here, but I am going to follow through this time and put a little thread lock on there. Just a little drop. Start this through the hole. Now I can just hold that with my thumb. When you attach this, you want the beveled side of this pin to be up away from the screw. Stainless steel, really nice part. And now just give it a little snug from down here. I mean, you could do this earlier if you wanted, make it a little easier to get to, but that's all set. So now we're going to put the center studs in the mounting plates. These are going to go in the back in this counter bore. What's important to remember here when you do a thread lock is that you only want it to be up under the head of the screw, because we want it to be in this plate, not out along the length of this. So it's very important you do that properly. So I'll just put this here like so, right up at the end there. And now start this in here. And you do have a ways to go. We need that length for what's coming later. So I'll just run that through with my fingers, and then we're going to go back to the number 3 Phillips. Run that in nice and tight. And that is all set. I will do the other one again with the thread lock. Nice and neat, just on the end. This one. Okay. Number 3 Phillips again. All right, that's done. So now we're ready to do the major assembly. Let's put this away. So for the front bracket, regardless of what kind of table you have, you want the notch to be down. Pin plate goes on like that. So it's governed in its motion by this very accurately machined tongue and groove situation here. It will always be in alignment. You can take it off and put it back on. It will never change. You take one of the black plastic washers, put that on there, one of these nice blue dot knobs, and that's all you need to govern how high or low it is on your table. So now take these T-bolts. There are instructions about which of these mounting holes to put the bolts in, depending on what type of table you have. In this case, I'm going to set it up for a dashboard, so I'm going in the top set of holes. Run that through there. Another black plastic washer, another blue dot knob, and this is all set to go, just like that. And then the other one right here, same thing. Front bracket is now complete. Back bracket is going to be much the same, but the first thing I want to do is put the pressure bar on. So pressure bar comes with these knobs and washers. And we're going to do one other bolt here as well. So let's take those off of there. This is where this particular button head screw comes in. So the purpose of this is to go through one of these two holes at the front and into this hole on the pressure bar. The only purpose of this bolt is to hold the pressure bar and govern how high you can lift it when you are installing or removing a rail. You must never tighten it in an attempt to pull the bar down, because it's too long and you'll waste your time anyway. It's only meant to hold and position the bar. So we'll put a little thread lock on there, just a bit, right at the end. Spread that around. Okay. So let's put that through this hole, because as you look at it this way, what we want to do is we're going to set this up for a Festool style rail, which is this row of holes. This is Dewalt row of holes. Also applies to Craig. These smaller holes are there for Bosch Mafell rails, and we'll talk about those in other videos. So I'm just going to install the bar with its existing studs through these other holes. Right, line it up with that bolt head. Let's see it here. Get it in the camera. So get the 5/32 or 4mm wrench, and we're going to just start running that bolt in. And now, if you watch, it's just going to come up flush with the top of the bar, okay, or a little bit below flush, and stop there. Okay. Now that's the last time, and I'm telling you, last time you ever touch that bolt. Do not tighten it again. Do not loosen it again, because all it's doing is governing how far you can lift it, okay? Don't touch it again. Don't make that mistake. Now, we'll put these nice big washers back on with these knobs. And the pivot plate with pressure bar is ready to go. So, just leave those snug for the moment. But you'll see when I loosen them, I can loosen them to a certain extent, lift my bar up, slide a rail on that way, and I'm going to use these two only to tighten it back down. The other thing to mention here is that the holes that these studs go through are deliberately oversized, but the front one is not. So you'll watch what happens here. It pivots back and forth a little bit from the front. That allows the rail to self-adjust to whatever's going on between the frame of your table and the top of your table when you go to line it up. So I don't care what kind of table you have, if it's imperfectly made, or if there's just something going on that you need to adjust, just loosen those knobs, and then you can move the front of your rail back and forth a few degrees to compensate for whatever's going on and get the cut you want. So that's important to remember. So that's how that works, and that applies to all three sets of holes. You can move them like that. So now this one's ready to go on the mounting plate. And in this case, I'm going to set it up for dashboard. And so for the rear bracket, you want the notch up. That only applies to dashboard. Does not apply to other tables. Any other table, notch down, just like on the front bracket. So in this case, I'm doing dashboard. Pop that on just like I did before. And a washer on there. Another one of these blue dot knobs. And that one's ready to go. Same thing with the T-bolts. top set of holes. Now you have one fully assembled set of dashboard guide rail brackets. Thanks for watching.